We're going to get started. I'm still waiting on somebody, but if he's not here in time, we'll just have him talk afterwards. Welcome to our main meeting. We're talking about bookstores today. We have a bookstore panel here of some amazing folks. It's really cool for me because I've spent a lot of time at Barnes & Noble. I've spent a lot of time with Brianne, and then I've talked to Dallas several times. But anyway, I feel like I pulled them into my world this time instead of me being in their world. So welcome to Caprock. I'm very excited to hear what you all have to say, helping our readers. Before I get started, though, I do have a few announcements. Our next meeting is June 11th. We have the amazing Andy Wilkinson who's coming. He is a musician, a storyteller, songwriter, and it should be a very inspirational meeting. I'm excited to see him come and give us his spiel on that. We do not have a meeting in July. That is our vacation month, so have a great time. If you want to meet other Caprock folks, feel free. Can't meet here, though, because we didn't pay for the room. But, feel free if you like having the community, grab a few people. Next thing we have is October 15th is the book festival, the Lubbock Book Festival at the library. I keep telling you I'm going to send you a link. I haven't yet, but there's still time to sign up to have an author booth there. Hopefully the next meeting I'll remember to put the link in the newsletter. And also, Wynn Green is our hospitality chairman. He's looking for volunteers to either provide food or be a greeter. So if you're interested in that type of a thing, please either email me at the Caprock website, caprock.com, or you can catch me after the meeting. We'd love to have you helping Wynn out to bring in some food. And, greeter would just be saying hello to people as they come in. Let's see. The other thing I want to tell you is that we have started up the anthology again. I'm very excited. Steve Curry, he's the one I'm waiting on, not to put him on the spot, but he's going to come at some point and tell us about it. But right now, it's the same theme, Never Say Never. That's what we started with. We announced it in January, and then we had to put it on hold. But now Steve is signed up to be the chairman for that. So the deadline will be June 21st. You can have up to 7,000 words. We're including poetry. We're including short stories and anything up to 7,000. So it can be very short, or it can be, all the way up to the limit. There will be, on May 21st, we're opening up on the website so that you can start submitting, or at least see what the details are about that, the page size and all that kind of stuff. I'm very excited. When Steve does come in, we'll have him at the very end of the meeting. He can talk about a little bit more details. He has some really great ideas. One of them is to do a Kickstarter around it. So I'm hoping he'll be able to tell you a little bit about that. We have 2 open board positions. One was events and workshops, and the other one is the director of the website. So if you're interested, please let me know. The other thing is that we started the critique groups. I was supposed to have a general meeting on the 19th next week, but my daughter has a concert, so we're going to postpone that date. I'm still looking for a place to meet. So I'll let you know. We're going to just get everyone back together. But in the meantime, we have set up 5, maybe 6 critique groups with some really amazing folks, and I wanted to give them a chance to talk about their groups, what days they meet. Kim, I'm going to start with you.
So our group meets the first and third Tuesday evening at 6:30.
At 6:30, first and third Tuesday evening of the month, 6:30 p.m. at Go to Key Library, which is the one over on Frankfurt by Lowe's Home Improvement in that area. We are all genres, so pretty much open to anything in that regard. We've already kind of tweaked the way we're doing things, because we started off with, we would bring our pages and kind of pass them to the next person, and that person would read aloud our pages. So we're not reading our own things aloud, we're reading someone else's things aloud. So you get the benefit of kind of hearing your words, which is very, very helpful when you're looking at how things are made. However, hang on a second. So we did that once, and it didn't really work out that well because we ran out of time, and then some people talk really soft, and other people can't hear very well, and so we've already kind of changed that. So we have a OneDrive folder that people are just uploading their pages to, and everyone reads it in between, that meeting and the next meeting, and you get feedback at the next meeting. So if you are interested in joining our group, we would love to have you. There's plenty of room, and there's it's a very positive, constructive criticism, feedback focus group, and some very experienced writers, and then we also have some very brand new writers. So, and I my hope, of course, is that everybody benefits from it, and I think they will. So, Tuesday, first and third Tuesday evening, 6:30 p.m. Go to Key Library.
Thank you, Kim. Now, Dan, do you want to talk about yours real quick? And all of this information is on our website. We have a calendar and we have a graphic that gives you dates and times and who. There's a sign-up page. If you're not signed up and you're too shy to talk to us today, please come to the website and sign up, and we'll make sure you're added to all the communications.
Our group is meeting at the Market Street on 19th Street and Quaker, and we're meeting on Thursdays, the second and fourth Thursday at 7 o'clock. And we've had a lot of fun, and it's been really productive. And I'm not going to take a long time, but it was really good. It's working well.
And that's Dan Spencer, in case you don't know him. Kidder, would you like to? We have one group got set up, and then our moderator had to bow out. He's having family issues, and we have a new volunteer, hopefully? Question mark?
So I'm Kidder Foxworthy, and I do short stories, which I think kind of falls in right now because with the anthology coming up. I'm thinking probably Mondays around 6:30, and I like the United on Quaker at 19th, so probably the same place dance is. Is that better? Should I start over? Okay, so my name is Kidder Foxworthy, and I do short stories for anthologies. And I think that's perfect for right now because we've got the anthology coming up. I'm thinking Mondays at 6:30, and I like the same location Dan uses, so it's Quaker and 19th. It's the United at Quaker and United at 19th. Yeah, okay. I have no idea what I'm saying.
I think you said it all perfectly. Great, so she's going to take over the one that's currently labeled moderator needed, but on your previous email it was Jefferson Marshall's group, and I'll update all those materials. We have the calendar on the website, we have the sheet that tells you the dates and times, and Steve Curry has arrived. Are you able to, you want to catch your breath? Okay, all right. Kim, would you like to introduce our program? Steve, I think we'll get you at the end.
Good morning again. I wanted to do a quick plug again. Well, I'll do that at the end. I was just going to talk about Andy Wilkinson, but I'll do that at the end of the meeting. So our panelists, very excited to have people who can help us reach readers and buyers of our books here today. Louder?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So this morning we have from Lark Books, and if you guys have not been to Lark Books yet, you really, really need to go. It is the most beautiful store. We have Brianne from Lark Books. Next to her is Dallas from Canyon. She has the Burrowing Owl bookstores. So these are two independent bookstores. Burrowing Owl has a location in Canyon and in Amarillo, correct? Next to her is Robert, and he is with Star Comics, which is on 34th Street. And then down at the end is Wade from Barnes & Noble, here our local Barnes & Noble store in the mall. And so what I have asked them to do is just spend about, just a few minutes talking about their stores, talking about how they work with local authors and, kind of their policies on that and procedures on that and ways that we can work with them. And then after they get through with that, we're going to open it up for questions. So y'all be thinking of questions. So I'm going to start down here with Brianne. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Brianne?
Thank you. Good morning. No, I always say it's Brie like the cheese because that's a lot easier to remember than Brianne often, and there's a lot of variations on that. So Brie like the cheese it is, and that is fine. So Lark Books opened in December of last year, so we are 5 months old, still pretty new in the area, but the concept began actually as a publishing company. So we do publish. It is designed to be a bridge between the freedom that is found and artistic integrity that is found in self-publishing with the go-to-market plan and the global distribution and a lot of the perks that come with the traditional publishing route. So we bridge the two. That's how it started. We also, because of that, really, our core mission is to support authors as artists. So we use the hashtag support art, read books. That is the core heart of what Lark Books is and what we want to bring to the community. So with that, I wanted to build a bookshop that could house my community of authors and local authors here in the area as well. So we do new books only. We don't do used books. There are great options for used books in the Lubbock area and beyond. So we do new books only, and that is because no matter what your publishing contract looks like, authors will only ever get paid for their artistry through the sale of a new book. So to support our concept of supporting authors as artists, we only do new. But the bookshop has gained great attention and an instant community very quickly. It has been just an absolute pleasure to be a part of and open up. We do a lot of free community events because we want to get local readers into the shop and experiencing literature in a new way. It's not just about picking a book up off of the shelf and then going home and reading it. That's very consumer-esque to me. We want to build relationships there. We want to broaden their concept and realize that storytelling exists far beyond just the pages of what they are picking up, and to help promote a relationship between reader and author as well, because I think that's another very important element in that. Through that, though, of course, there's a lot of education with our readers that we are doing to let them know and teach them that it's not intended to be a consumer relationship, that authors don't work for readers. Like, that's our audience, right? But at the end of the day, it should be more of a relationship rather than that consumer-esque style. And also educate, of course, about what it means to be an author, what it means to be a writer, what it takes to get a book published, no matter what path you choose. Like, it's a very vulnerable thing to do, to bring a book onto the shelf. So we help educate that as well. Of course, the free community events helps that. We do at least one every weekend. We're starting salons now, the traditional French style salon, where we're bringing people in and we're having open conversation and starting to learn how to disagree again, and just getting to know our fellow community members. So that's been a lot of fun. That's Wednesday nights. How we work with local authors. I love having local authors into our shop. We are very welcoming and open to having book signing events, meet the author events, especially if your book or your genre that you are particular in correlates to the event that we are doing. That is a great time to bring that experience full circle for our readers. I don't keep any more than 3 copies of a single title in the book, and that's really because we have a small square footage space in the store. It's an intimate store, and I want to build this idea of the title is very special to the reader that is picking it up, and so even if there's just one on the shelf, that is meant for them to take home. So we like to build that experience. But however I need to source that, whether that's directly through the author or through a distribution company, then I'm happy to do that. But that's, we welcome the books. I don't do consignment. Again, I believe that authors should be paid for their work, and so it's my bookshop. It's my job to sell those books, and it is just simply your job to write them and bring them to me. Making sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, so we have our full e-commerce site, we have our in-store site, we do audiobooks and ebooks, local authors that I can offer through those platforms. I feature in the local author sections on there. We do as much as we can, and of course, if you have any ideas on how to broaden that relationship and experience, I'm happy to bring them in however we can. Yes, so I think that is just about it. Oh, we did start an ARC group as well, an advanced reader, especially for the publishing side. We want to start developing that relationship and using our local community to support the authors that we are publishing. So within 2 days, we already have 78 people signed up to be part of our art group, which is phenomenally exciting. And just a little bit on the publishing side, we already have 19 official authors within our portfolio, and we are bringing 12 books to life before the end of the year. So we're very excited for that. We already have 2 on the shelf. Both authors are already republishing through us. The first one was international within a month. So exciting things happening on our little bookshop down on Broadway, 513 between the Nicolette and Auld.
So I'm Dallas Bell. I'm with Burrowing Books in Amarillo and Canyon. My original store's in Canyon. We've been there for 6 years. We're moving it across the square, so we're still on the square within Canyon. In Amarillo, we did not have an independent bookstore, and so we took the Burrowing Out up there about 3 years ago. We are both new and used books. I will also say we have like another satellite store in Bushland, which is a very small booth-like one as well, which has been within a retail kind of antique mall kind of situation. So when we opened up about 6 years ago, Hastings was closing, and so there was just this void for new books and used books in particular, as well as new books in an independent setting. There was no other stores other than Barnes & Noble, which I totally appreciate Barnes & Noble being there. They are able to provide books that I cannot provide just with as small as I am. So anyway, so that's kind of how we started. It was kind of on a whim. We were in Chicago, and my husband and I were like, Panhandle needs a bookstore. And so, like 10,000 books later in my living room with boxes and boxes of books, we were like, okay, we probably need to find a storefront now. And so we knew location was really important, and so that's why we landed there on the square in Canyon. And I actually lived there in Canyon, so it made a lot of sense. Am I loud enough, by the way? Are we good? Okay, great. So that's kind of how we started. Neither one of us have any kind of books experience behind us other than we love bookstores. I mean, every time we went on vacation, we'd go to a bookstore. And so this is the reason why we started it. My husband works full-time to support me in my endeavor. And he is also the guy who builds my bookcases and does all my maintenance and everything else. But we're really good partners on that. So I give him a honey-do list, and he helps me tremendously. So I couldn't have done it without him. So when I opened, I had no idea of the book culture. I was just thinking I'm going to open up a small, sleepy bookstore there on the square. And lo and behold, one of my very first customers who came in was a local author. And so that began our relationship with authors. And it is a relationship. I know that to interact with each other is so important. To know your faces is so important for me. The Panhandle has so many talented authors, and I commend all of you on that. It's just amazing to see the talent we have in the Panhandle. The number of authors that come through, it's fantastic. And to keep all of you on my shelf is, like Brianne said, we can only take 2 or 3 books at a time because we just are small enough that we don't have as much room as what we would like. But that will always be the case because books replicate and get bigger and bigger. So anyway, so I definitely, if you approach me and want your book on the shelf, please do. The best way to get a hold of me would be burrowingoutbooks@gmail.com. So I'm just going to throw that out there. You might try calling me, and I am a full-time mom and I'm a full-time business owner, so I have to balance a lot of my time. So I do a lot by Gmail. So definitely burrowingoutbooks@gmail.com. I'm trying to think. We consider ourselves and I laugh because I'm pulling it from Spider-Man, but we're the friendly neighborhood bookstore. We have them as well as her sister, and it just became more like a family. So we're a very family-oriented bookstore. I hired one guy because my mother was going through chemo, and then I ended up hiring his mother-in-law, and so it just kind of kept going on and on. And I hired the college student's sister, and so a lot of times, if you know one of us, any one of us will be able to tell you the answer. We try to get to know our customers very well. We love knowing our customers. We love seeing people come in and hearing our conversations. We love WT. We love having poetry reads, and we love having authors come in and doing reads or events as well. I know sometimes we're limited, and it's because we also have a full-time career as parents and families, so because we are family-oriented. I mean, we're very family-oriented. We are closed on Sundays. We're open Monday through Saturday from approximately 10 to 6 or 6:30 if you're in Amarillo. So, and we're looking at opening up on Sundays in Amarillo just briefly in the afternoons. We're going to try that out this year. How can you reach out, or how can I help you as an author? That's a really great question. I will say that if you come in and are looking for me, just realize I may not be there because I may be at the other store or maybe at a family event. The Gmail is the best way to get started on that. We do consignment, and it's just because we have very limited. We're both new and used, but we love, and I appreciate the fact that you buy all of your books. I think that's really fantastic from your authors, and I really tried. So you come in, and we do set up a consignment fee or a consignment contract, and it works pretty well. I think that's about it. We love local books or books about the local area. That's one of our favorite books because it sells really well, especially in the Canyon. And I will tell you the difference, and this may be kind of give you some direction as to which store might fit your book best. My Canyon store, we do more new books in our Canyon store because we have so many tourists. Because of the Paladura Canyon, because of WT, we have UIL events, and so folks are always coming in, and tourism season is really big there on the square in Canyon. In Amarillo, my Amarillo is mainly for my local people. Now, we do get a lot of people coming through a little bit, but not near as tourism. So if your book is geared more towards a tourist, like 101 things to do in Amarillo kind of thing, a lot of times those will do better in my Canyon store. Well, my Amarillo one would do better in Amarillo, but those would do better in my Canyon store, whereas if it's just the general read, a lot of those will do very well in my Amarillo store. So check out both. They're very unique. It helps us double our inventory because we can ship back and forth between the two. So if your book sells out in one store, the other store might have it, and I can just pull it down and bring it to my customers from there. So it does give us a little bit more of a way to reach out to the community as a whole. So, I think that's it. So I'm going to pass on. And I really appreciate all that you do because we couldn't have our bookshelves without you. And we know that it's a lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Writing books and getting it published and getting it marketed out there because that's such a big portion of what you do. We really appreciate it. So, thank you.
Hello, my name is Robert. I own Star Comics here in Lubbock, Texas. We're formerly Star Books and Comics. I see some familiar faces. I'm the one probably on the panel that has been doing this the longest. We have been around as a bookstore, used bookstore, and comic book store since 1977. I've been a part of it. It is a family store since I was a teenager, so 1988, and I've owned it since 1999. I have probably made every mistake that there is in the business of bookstores and comic book stores, and I have innovated many successes as well. I don't really brag on those. I mainly focus on the mistakes. I know this may be a unfamiliar territory for some of you as far as a comic book store, but when we are just talking about independent bookstores and retail, we are no different than anyone else. To elaborate on what was already said, our shelf spaces, we call it real estate, just like every retail establishment does. And real estate is precious, and it's really difficult to accept local authors in our environment without an understanding of what that real estate means on your end. So because I have been doing this so long, and I have been approached by many writers, illustrators, artists, everybody has really lofty goals and an understanding of what their product is, and bridging that gap is very difficult both on your end and on my end as a local business. And I know that's a big challenge that I wanted to try to address with most of you. I know most of you may not have gotten into writing or illustrating to become a marketer, to become your own, manager or agent. Well, I also didn't, come into retail to become a distributor or a PR agent or a manager as well. So we kind of have to meet in the middle somewhere. Learning and understanding of whatever market you're trying to go into, where you're trying to market your book or your product that you're wanting to sell, make sure you understand that environment. One of the things that we talk about in the world of comics, and I know they do in books as well, is shelf talkers. Shelf talkers are really big in our world, something that goes on a shelf and tells the consumer a little bit about what it is. Well, I've noticed whenever I mention the word shelf talker to a lot of writers or illustrators, they don't know what that is, and I completely understand. So I describe it to them, and then I say, especially illustrators, a lot of artists, and I'll say, well, make me a shelf talker. It can be handmade. In fact, that's even more preferred on my end. I like to see that personal touch. And they'll look around a little bit in the environment, and then they'll bring me this big poster or something that's 3 or 4 times larger than anything else in the store, and we'll use it most of the time. We really will. But that's again one of those learning curves, one of those gaps that we see between the creative and the retail environment, and knowing the environment. So a lot of times we'll coach or teach down the road, look at shelf talkers at your larger stores. Look at shelf talkers in all the environments that you shop at and see what that looks like. And then try to mimic that, but in your style and for your creativity. We're open to, in our environment, we have to be, we're very open. We're not very selective, meaning we know that comics are, even with the popularity of movies, comics are a very niche audience. They're a lot smaller than your general bookstore, and we have no problem with that. We want people to feel welcome in our environment and to feel that their product, their ideas, and their creativity are welcome there, because comics are a medium, not a genre, and people often get very confused with superheroes meaning comic books, and that's not the case. And unfortunately, a lot of independent comic book creators, writers, and illustrators feel a little left out because of that. They're not creating a superhero story, they're creating a slice of life story, etc. And that's completely appropriate in our environment. We are not exclusively a superhero store, and there's nothing wrong with superhero stores if that's their main focus. But we're open to many different genres within the medium of comics, as well as used and new books when possible. We can always be reached at starcomicsonline@gmail.com. That goes directly to me. We have a very strong Facebook presence. I have a really good Facebook admin that takes care of a lot of our promotions to talk about what the store is selling, what we may have on the shelves, and events that are coming up or things that we participate with in the community. We try to be very community-minded when we can be. We want participation. We understand that's our role as a small business. We are a part of the community. We shop in the community. We're there every day. We have our kids. We have our, all of our obligations as well as small business owners. And that comes with a lot of obstacles and roadblocks, just like on the creative end. And so we often treat our stores like you treat your writing, your illustrating, and the creative endeavors that you're approaching. That's how we approach our stores every day. I mean, every day we're creating and writing a new chapter, revising a new chapter, asking people what they think about this. That's our store. That's what it's always going through. And so, you know, the community at large is part of that input. Anytime if we get, hey, I have an idea, I have a book, I have, you know, I'd like to do a signing. You have no idea how many, especially at the smaller end, how many of us are going to be completely open to that. I'm like, sure, what are you thinking? But just like that marketing thing that I talked about at the beginning, where you didn't really get into this to be your own agent, and we didn't get into this to be your agent, we always have to meet in the middle sometime. And the best way that we can do that is just be open and willing to approach your local stores in many different areas, even if they're not necessarily directly tied to what you may be working on at the time, because another avenue may open later on down the road. That's my advice as somebody who has seen many faces in many different ways, and had said yes to many of them and had to turn a few down just because it wasn't a good fit. But that's from Star Comics here in Lubbock, Texas. We've been doing this a long time. We're currently on 34th Street, off of Joliet Avenue, formerly Hester Books, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It's been a great space for us. We miss that bookstore dearly, but they took great care of the space, and we love being there. So thank you for the opportunity. It was nice meeting everybody.
Can you hear me okay? All right. My name is Wade. I've been the manager at Barnes & Noble about 28 years. We've been around for over 60 years, but we've gone through some changes of late. We were bought out by a British company back in August of 2019, and we've gone private, which has probably been the best thing that's ever happened to this company. We were bought out by an action bookseller. James Don owns a group of bookstores in London called Don Books. He was a bookseller, started his own books. A group called Elliott Management bought out Waterstone Books in London, which is the largest book chain there. Promoted him to the CEO, and a year later we were acquired. It's been a complete reversal of how we run our stores now. We were the typical top-down brand business, right? We had central publishing, central buying, central everything. Now it's been pushed down to the stores, so it's now a bottom-up model. I get the pleasure of buying the bulk of our product from the stores. I get to display the product how I want. I get to bring in local authors that I want, as long as they meet the guidelines. We get to do all kinds of stuff at our own store now, so it doesn't feel sterile and corporate anymore, which is really nice, especially someone who has had the pleasure of opening 4 stores throughout the States. I do miss our old location. I don't know if any of y'all remember the old location across the loop there, but I wish we were still there. I grew up going to Hester's, so I missed that location. So, we're talking today about how to get a book in our store. It's really pretty simple. It's just kind of like the panel has talked about here. We're kind of the finished product. You've done all the heavy lifting, right? You've written the book, you've got the book published. Hopefully you found a distributor that we can work with. And you're in charge of the marketing. Hopefully you've grasped the social media, because that is really what's driving books today. I could talk all day about how social media has changed the book landscape. But once you come into our store and talk to me or one of my managers, it's all about how do we get a hold of the book. Unfortunately, we don't do consignment. We need to get to a wholesaler. Again, it is that part of it is still centralized. So if you want to get paid, it needs to be through a distributor. So we just do one central billing. I don't have the ability to write a check or take cash out of the register and buy your books. So we recommend that you find a distributor. And I would never tell anybody who to use. They're all pretty good out there. It's all about accessibility. We are coming out of COVID now and starting to do signings. So we've already had a couple already, and so that's been exciting. If you've been in our store lately, you've seen that we've redesigned it. So spacing has become an issue for events. I haven't figured out how to solve that problem yet, but we'll figure something out. I'm blessed that I've got a great staff. Like I said, I've been with Barnes & Noble 28 years. My 2 assistants have been there over 20 years. I've got Shelley who's been there 32 years. So we have a wealth of knowledge. If I don't know the answer, I promise someone else does. And they'll tell you that they're the ones who really run the store, not me. So that's really about it. Again, you know, if you use a distributor, I guess the majority of people are using print on demand. Print on demand is the big thing right now. And it's really allowed a lot of people to get their works published and really in stores quicker. But it's just a matter of getting it and getting it through a distributor for us. We don't really put a limit on the quantity. We're kind of the same boat with everybody else. We typically want to start out between 2 and 5. No author wants to walk into our store and see a $2, $3, $4 sticker on it because we can't sell it, you know, so we don't want to overbuy. But the biggest thing is if you are marketing your book, you've got to take advantage of your friends and family. Use and abuse them. Use them as your mail out, your email chain. When we have signings, those are the first people you're going to want to invite. Again, I'm going to go back to this guy right here. This guy is like the bomb diggity of how to market a book. He is still self-published. He is still a POD. He has turned down every big name publisher to publish his book. And he has made it to all 627 of our stores. He has forced us to put this book in our stores because he does such a great job at marketing himself. I'm sorry, it can't hurt me, David Goggins. He's a former Navy SEAL, he's a motivational speaker, but he's just all over every social media platform. You know, if you want a model to look how he markets himself, this is the guy. I don't know if anybody's heard of Colleen Hoover. Has anyone heard of Colleen Hoover? Again, another success story. She self-published her stuff, but she kind of went the other route. Publishers started coming to her, bidding for her works, and she finally signed with a main publisher. But again, it's how you promote yourself. That's the only way I can explain it. You got to force booksellers to want to put your books in your store because there's so much media attention for it. So that's really it.
Thank y'all so much. I learned several new things today. I did not realize that Star Comics had such longevity. That in itself is a huge accomplishment. So that's very exciting. And I also didn't know about, I knew that Barnes & Noble had gone through some changes in the last few years, but I didn't realize that, my previous experience as an author with the stores is there was just really not a lot of flexibility in, what could be done. So that's very exciting. So excellent. Grace's book is excellent. But that is a big deal. And not that you're not a big deal, Grace. It's like, it's a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to open it up for questions now. So, yes, sir.
This is more not a question, but a thank you to Dallas, because about 4 years ago, I got in an anthology called Roadkill Volume 2, and you hosted a signing, and it was wonderful, and I just wanted to say we had a great experience.
I didn't recognize you. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. Yeah, well, I've gotten thicker here and thinner here, and hopefully not any thicker there. I just want to say, let everybody know it's a great experience, and hopefully it will happen again when I get some more stuff.
Well, that's a new story, but so
okay.
we're really excited.
but I just want to say thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the ISBNs on the back of the books. If we're an indie author and we use the KDP ISBN numbers, is that going to affect whether we can get our books into your stores or not?
So with me, since I deal with used books, a lot of my used books don't have ISBNs because they're from before the 1970s. And so we figured out how to deal with it, whether or not we have an ISBN or not. So if we prefer it, then we can work with it for sure.
So what about Wild Lark?
Same.
Same? Okay. And
The ISBN.
Barnes and Noble?
The ISBN. I mean, I'm not sure. I've never heard of the KPI or.
It's an Amazon exclusive. It's an Amazon exclusive ISBN.
Because you can self-publish your book exclusively on the KDP platform, and they will assign you a number, an identifier number, but it's not an ISBN.
It's a ASI. ISBN. It's the same group number, the same mark, but it's generated by Amazon, only usable on Amazon.
Then no for us.
Yeah.
We don't support any of the Amazon platforms.
Yeah, see, Barnes & Noble, you need like Ingram Spark or Ingram, one of the larger wholesalers, to carry your books for Barnes & Noble.
What Marketing Plus?
That's one of the wholesalers they will buy from.
But Dan, you can put your paperbacks anywhere if you're with selected Amazon. You can go to Ingram Spark Publisher. They do have free ISBNs over there. You can publish it and it will be available in all publishers. So Ingram Sparks is a self-publishing platform.
I do the paperbacks with Amazon and through
Yeah. And I wanted to mention, Wade, you said something about book signings and if you can get the books in. And I know that when I worked with Terry Hanlon, one thing that she said every meeting that we ever had was you have to have your books returned. So if you aren't in Ingram Spark, you have to click that little box that says returnable. The only issue with that is as a self-publisher or a publisher is that sometimes bookstores at the end of the month, not you guys, but they return your books. If they got them in store and they didn't sell them, they return them, and that comes back off for your back. So there's a little bit of a risk if you click that box. It's great to get in the bookstores for signings and that kind of thing, but as an independent publisher, you just have to be aware that there could be some downsides.
Yeah, we ran into a few problems where we've done signings with non-returnable stuff. We have their inventory, and that's one thing, but then the author retires. I've got 2 books where the author has retired, stopped marketing the book, started promoting the book, won't even come in for a signing for the book, and they're stuck with that. So you've got to just, it's just got to be good business sense. Nobody wants to return books, we don't sell all books. If it's opportunities to do multiple signings a year, that's what we'll do.
Real quick on that topic of the ISBNs and publishing through Amazon and then extending it out for the global to go through Ingram, which will then give you an ISBN. I do have several authors in my portfolio currently that have experience that when they click that and it does go global, just double check and do some math and some research on how you price that book. And how that's being handled, because oftentimes, especially in the experience of these authors, Ingram's cost outweighs the amount that Amazon is willing to spend. So at the end of the day, if you sell 20 books through Ingram Spark, through the ISBN, wherever you may shelf them, you will get charged for those 20 copies instead of earning money for them. So just be aware of that and do the research as you are self-publishing that route. Just a question.
So let me make sure I'm clear on that. You're saying that if you publish through Amazon, you click the extended distribution. Now, when you do that, you're allowing your paperbacks to be published everywhere, but you only get a tiny percentage because they then sell to the booksellers who take their cut. So you're getting a little bit of the money. And what happens they don't sell all of them, they order some?
No, it's the pricing is arranged as such between the two companies that that tiny cut that's taken from everybody ends up putting you in the negative rather than even getting any money back, and you owe Ingram at the end of the day.
She's talking about Ingram, not Amazon.
Well, I know, but she's talking about extended distribution
Through Amazon, yes. So, okay. Sorry, I may not be making myself clear. Yeah. But yeah, if you publish through Amazon and you click the global distribution, which allows you to be distributed through Ingram, which makes it global and accessible through the ISBN, in our current experience, it often puts you in the negative in order to do that. You are paying back to the companies. Amazon will send you a bill at the end of the month saying, you owe us this for selling your book. Congratulations. So that's just something to be aware of.
If Ingram is the distributor, but Amazon is still the publisher.
Correct.
And so they're still going to charge them. So the cost of goods sold is
It's fine through Amazon. The process of how you earn your commission through Amazon, the royalties through Amazon remains the same. But if you choose to allow Amazon to sell it to additional distributors like Ingram, which is what you're doing through that global distribution, then Ingram will sell it at whatever price point, like their arrangement through Ingram and Amazon, oftentimes in our experience will work out as such that you don't make money on it, and Amazon and Ingram will end up coming back to you saying there's a deficit between what we paid to print it and sell it and what we got for it, so you as the author must pay that difference.
And that's kind of a common mistake, is that when you're trying to determine the price of the book, you're not determining what it's going to be the cost to have it distributed, because Ingram or Book Marketing Plus or whoever are going to give you 24% discount on that. So your cost analysis needs to determine that I'm going to have my book distributed at a discount, so I need to factor that into the cost. A lot of them make that mistake.
Now, the cure for that is if you're publishing through Amazon, don't click extended distribution if you're worried about it. I don't have it because I don't have, most of my stuff is through Amazon. But then you can go to Ingram and publish the paper. Like Steve was saying, that's what he does. He publishes the paperback through Ingram, and the paperback is available on Amazon, but it's not the extended distribution, which means that Amazon can sell it elsewhere. So it's very complicated. But, yes.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead and finish. I didn't mean to.
No, I was good. I'm going to say it again and just be awkward.
Well, you talked about a cure, and I have another cure, which is the one I found, which is Bree. So I'm publishing my books through Bree and Lark, and what that means is she helps me with my art of writing and her business of publishing. But she has the beautiful add-on of marketing and promotion, which she helps you with as much as you want, and also supports you in the ways that you want to market and promote yourself. And so it starts at Lark, but then, like she said about D.L. Hammond's her first author, it goes global. It has the potential to go global. And so I'm really excited to be working with her and Lark.
Thank you, Charlotte. It's been wonderful to work with you. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Questions?
Okay, so for you two ladies, is, like, if we have self-published books and we have a stack of them, is it as simple as walk into your store and say, hey, here's my book, take a look and see if you want to put this on your shelf? Or is there something more high-tech to it than that?
Ours is not very high-tech, I'll tell you, and my contract is very simple. We do a consignment, just because that way we can get all of your information. I mean, with the contract, we get all of your information, and just to kind of explain how our process works, basically. It is pretty simple. Other than that, I recommend that folks, this is extremely difficult, to try to come in Monday through Friday between 10 and 2, because that's when I'm there, or my other staff member is at my designated staff member is at the Amarillo location. So if you're in town during those times, bring them in and we can get you set up really easily. If you can't make it during those times, because I know those are very limited, and that's just being family people. If you can't make it during those times, send me a Gmail and we can just shoot you a text or shoot you an email with the contract and everything on it. And it's pretty self-explanatory. It's very simple. It just kind of sets out the process, and we'll take it in. But yes, that's pretty much it. I've never turned away a local author, and most local authors will keep their books on my shelves. Every once in a while, I have someone come in and pull their books because they're going with a bigger publishing house, and they don't want them self-published beforehand, and so they'll pull their books. I don't understand the nuts and bolts because I'm not a publisher quite as well, but for whatever reason, I've had that happen, I think twice in the past 6 years. So, but for the most part, no one has pulled their books unless there was an outside influence on it. So.
Yes, for us, okay, so it has been just me since the start in the shop. So if any time you walked in, you would find me, and that's still going to be the case. But I do have 2 additional curators in the shop with me now. But it is as simple as coming in. We can have a conversation about how much you want me paying for that book. I trust you as the author to understand the finances behind that book and how much you need, and then how much you want to charge me, and then how much I still have a little bit left over for my profit. So I trust you to have those calculations for me, and then you come in, you say, hey, I've got 3 copies, X amount, can we get them on the shelf, and then however we need to handle the finances, then we do. But yes, it can be as simple as that. And then if you want to do a signing, we can look at the calendar, take a look at that. And if you want to, again, guarantee that I'm there and that I have the space to be able to meet with you for a second, because in the shop, you have people coming and going constantly, and you want to make sure that your readers are taken care of, and we have our tea cart, so we're making tea, and we're doing the thing, and we're talking to people. So, but info@wildlarkbooks.com is how you can get a hold of us for that.
Thank you. I have a question for each of you, just real quick off the top of your head. What are like the 2 things that you see that are selling? If you say like self-help, ghost stories, recipe books, anything like that?
For me, it's regional. It's very, very, very much about Texas, so, or the local area. That's going to be one of my biggest ones. And then also children's. For me, it's regional, very much local. The history, the ecology, anything about the local area. Those are what sell wonderful. Kids books. I sell a lot of kids books, and I'm trying to. I'm not speaking about my used books. I'm talking about my new books at this point in time. I have it probably in my house. That's maybe not true. In my store, feels like my house sometimes. In my store, I have probably 80% used, 20% new. So, and I have about 18,000 to 20,000 books at each store. So, but children's books are huge, and then the regional books are huge. So.
What is your Gmail?
burrowingoutbooks@gmail.com. Burrowing Owl Books, so a Burrowing Owl Books @gmail.com.
So Robert, what's off these days?
For local or regional, if you were to approach me to try and stand out on the shelf, aside from Marvel and DC and all of the superhero, you need all ages and humor. Those are the 2 that we can easily hand sell, especially in either a comic book format or a smaller format. That's going to be an audience that is looking for new material, all ages or humor.
Really right now, I mean, it goes in different ways. I would say right now the biggest, probably 2 categories are going to be mystery and YA. We are trying to cultivate our regional section a little bit more. I will throw this out. I was looking at this artwork and made me think of something a while ago. I've got to look for someone out here that they can put it together. I've been saying this for several years. If you're looking for something, there is nothing out there about Lubbock pictorial-wise. You go to the Civic Center, you go to the airport, there's all kinds of old pictorial, but there's nothing in Lubbock. The Chamber of Commerce put out a $75 and $150 book out about 5 or 6 years ago. Limited quality, limited quantity. And we got, book and put it in book format, there's your book right there. That's the #1 request every holiday, is some type of checkbook line a couple years ago. Could not keep it in stock. Nobody put it together. So someone out here, put that book together. I don't know who owns the rights to it.
Fantasy fairy smut? No, not really. It is popular. But with our readership, and of course we are new, especially with the veterans here at the table that we're sharing. The store itself has a unique identity. One, I think, though, the fact that it is an independent bookshop brings in a very specific kind of reader, oftentimes. And those are usually the folks that are deliberately, enthusiastically wanting and looking for local authors. And so we mark when it is a Lubbock or local or regional author on the shelf, because that tends to attract the eye and people naturally gravitate to it. So we have had at least a dozen local authors in the shop, and I would say 10 of the 12, a good 80 to 90% of them have sold out to where I've needed to ask for more. As far as the trends and who likes what and the genres, we have a little bit of everything. And our readers want a little bit of everything, and they will come in and they will explore, and then they will expand, and then they will shift, and then they will reread. There really has not been a trend of anything that has stayed consistent. But I think that that's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and it speaks to the desire of readers really wanting to engage with books and not trends, which I think is pretty cool.
I got 2 bits of info and a whole bunch of questions that were trimmed down on one or two. First off, if you do the Ingram Spark and the Amazon thing, use your ISBN on Amazon so more you're using it. Because if you use an Amazon number and an ISBN, they don't link up. 2, I've only had 1 book returned so far for the return check, and that's in 2.5 years. Now, the other one is, all of you accept paperbacks or some of you hardback only?
Luck doesn't do for us. Yeah, it doesn't matter which format.
Okay, and for Wildmark, you said that you are doing audibles too. Do you do audibles or you go through like Canfor or Lark?
Let's see, I'm trying to think of the company name. Libio? Libio is who we sell through. Okay. I'm probably solving that. I'm trying to recall from memory. So we are an indie commerce. We have our indie commerce site, so we work through who works with indie commerce. So we have a couple of partnerships through that. So the audiobooks are through that partnership through indie commerce. I don't currently have a resource to be able to turn my authors' publications into audiobooks. I do have a couple of contacts, but we're building out that side. I am always looking for more illustrators, hint, hint, if there's anyone out there for that. And, but yeah, that's my short answer for audio.
And the last question I have for all of you is, say you have a series, do you just want the first 1, 2, or 3 in the series, not the whole series?
Good question.
You got limited shelf space. I've got 8 books. You want a couple of 8 books.
So for me, I prefer the first one, several of the first one, and then one of each of the sequential ones.
Yeah, I would say about the same. If there's a series like that, let's go ahead and set up a signing as well so that we can introduce the series as a whole to readers. I think that would probably be a better introduction as we're bringing them onto the shelf so that folks can have that relationship start to build in that. And then, yeah, probably at least one of the whole series is super nice, but if we want to start with 2 copies of the first 3 or 4, that's kind of up to the author. We can talk about it.
same. I mean,
2 or 3 of one and one.
exactly, yeah. I mean, if it's a full series, we want to show the full series. I mean, obviously, because. But I'm saying, if you have 8 volumes of something, we want to show that this is something that's established. If we just show you that there's 1, or just show you that there's 1 and 2, then the shelf may not sell it as easily as, oh wow, this is 1 in a series of 8. I may want to check this out.
You're not John Erickson with 76 books. Not yet. I'm not opposed to carrying the series. Again, it's going to be, what are you promoting right now? What are you, so we want to support what it is you're promoting. If number 8 is the one you're promoting, then we obviously want to promote it. Right.
I have a couple questions. One for Brianne, you mentioned art team. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that works? Is that available just for the authors to publish it, or is that a broader?
So right now, the design is that it will serve the authors that I bring into the Wild Lark Books portfolio. Okay, I'll say that. I'll leave it at that for now. I don't know where that can grow or how else we can serve the broader local Lubbock author community. But yes, so it is designed to be able to pass early copies and concepts of our publications to them so that they can read them, provide some initial feedback. We can make whatever tweaks we need to make before sending the book into the broader market. Now, all of my authors retain 100% ownership and creative direction on their books. I provide my expertise and my direction, but I don't have final say, my authors do. And so it can help in that as well, especially in the education portion of what it is bringing books out into the world. Even if you've brought several out already, there's always something new to learn, especially in new markets. So that ARC group is designed to help provide us that feedback and then be at the ready for when that book hits the market, to have reviews going, to have the hype going, to have the talk going, to help make that book as successful as possible. So yeah, that's the design of it.
If anyone wants to be on that art team, I'm good.
Yes. Okay, so everything is on the wildlarkbooks.com website. Joining our email list is the best way to, stay up to date with all of the news and such. I did send the email out for the open call for the ARC group, and then I also posted it on social media, on our Instagram, on our Facebook, so it went out that way, and had just a quick little bit.ly link, easy to get to. I think the social media distribution gained just under 50 signups, and then when I sent the email out late yesterday afternoon, we've already had an additional 20 or 30. So social media, we have a great growing presence on social media for that.
And I have a question for Wade. If we wanted to set up a book signing, do we come to the store? Is it the CRM email? How do you?
Still use the CR email is probably the best way. It's CRM2364@bn.com.
What was that again?
CRM, Community Relations Manager, 2364@bn.com.
And can you give us advice on what to bring to a book signing, to set one up, and the ones that have done the best, what have people done to kind of make it amazing? And if you all could answer that question.
Yeah, I'll go back to something I said before. The best thing for the best turnout is, again, doing advance notifications, whether it be email blast to your friends and family, anything like that. I mean, it's a promotion of something that you've worked really hard at producing, and so it needs to be celebrated. We're in a mall, and we don't have the benefit of everybody that's walking in that door is coming to Barnes & Noble. We're a pass-through, right? 3 out of every 10 people that walk through our front door are pass-through and goes into the mall. So the misconception a lot of times is that that traffic is going to stop at your table. Well, they're not. They're trying to get down to Dippin' Dots to get an ice cream cone. So the other thing is, you know, don't be afraid to promote your book while you're there. Don't be afraid to speak up. Sitting there talking on your phone, texting on your phone just doesn't work. You've seen some of those, right?
That was Tara's comment always, don't be on your phone.
I know. So
I mingled through the store.
that's perfect.
I mingled through the store, bookmarks, hanging around. Come over and see me. I've got this book. I sold 30 books.
The gentleman that was there last month, he has a mystery series. He had 4 books. And he's like, I promise you, if you'll order 20 books of all 4, I'll sell every one of them. Now, I haven't ordered 20 books of 4 different books in a long time. So I took a flyer with him. And you know what? In 2.5 hours, he sold all 40 books. He talked to every. I was like, I need to hire this guy. And they you know. But that's the secret. You gotta speak up and talk about the passion that you just wrote. You know, people need to hear that.
Who is that? Who else is that?
I knew you were gonna ask me that. McKinnon was his name. He's out of the Metroplex. He's written a series like they're after an animal. It's like pig solves the window burger and cow solved the whatever. They're adult mystery. But it was a husband and wife team, and he manned the table, and she did like you. She circled the floor.
You just go through the store, people are there, they want to buy something, and they'll come by and say, I want a book, I don't know what book. And they go, hi. Come buy my book.
You know, he wasn't overbearing about it. He really wasn't. I'm a little concerned with that. But he was born for this. He did a really great job. And they were just traveling store to store. So they left my store and went to Albuquerque.
Just a little quirky side bit. Sometimes other people are better at selling your stuff than you are. Find your friend, find your biggest fan, and have them promote it for you. You can sit at the table, but you have to have a hype person. The hype person can often help. Sometimes being your own hype person may not work for you, and sometimes other people have a really good way of describing something to others because they weren't the creator. It didn't come from them.
Susan's a great one.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Steve, I did have my book in your store.
Yes.
I didn't know how to promote it with you.
Yeah.
I think I sold 2 books over a period of time, and I think there was a disconnect in terms of how I could have made more.
Sure.
Because I saw a lot of events that had to do with comic books, and I didn't know if I had book sign. I think we had a disconnect in terms of what that was.
So he brought something up a while ago, and it made me laugh because this is something that James Don brought to us. Shelf-talks. So when James Don brought this to us, I laughed. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This 2x6 card is going to sell this book. Are you kidding me? And he challenged us on it. And it is. It's the #1 selling technique in our store. And it can't be something that you create on a computer. It can't be something that looks, it's got to be handwritten. And it does. I don't know if any of y'all know Stephen Graham Jones. Y'all heard of him? I like to consider him local. He's really not local anymore. But we had some stuff in his, and this stuff's not moving. And so we wrote a couple little shelf-talkers, sold out of them. So I'm a believer now. I balked at it, I laughed at it, I was like, this is the silliest thing in the world. For 28 years of selling books, a piece of paper is not going to sell this book for me, and it did.
They're really great if you're looking to buy a book for somebody else. Because you know what you like, you know what you're looking for usually. But if you want to buy a book for someone another reader, the opinions of the people who write the little show number things are really great because
shortage is real and it's universal. What I can get is what they can get, and what they can't get, I can't get either. It all comes from the same place. And once that, and a lot of it has to do with international publishing and rights expiring and things. A lot of the times your U.S. publishers or distributors are only carrying it for a limited contract, and when that contract runs out.
Yeah, do you carry, how much of that older stuff?
For manga?
Yeah, for manga. Stuff from the early 2000s back.
Not very much. A lot of that stuff doesn't circulate in through our store. And talking about 27 volume series and 47 volume series, you may get volume 1 through 17 of an 18 series, and 18's been out of print for 5 years, and now you can't find it for less than $500. Usually that type of stuff is there.
I get a lot of stuff in your store by stopping in and saying, hey, I'm interested in this from this period. And your guys are so great at looking it up and seeing what they can find.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And she's beginning a collection. I know it, she has a collection, she's very much into her stuff now. My generation, or stepmother's generation back. And, she practically lives in St. Charles and, the bigger stores. So she lives in those, has no small independent stores, so usually it's in St. Charles or the Postman 40 miles away. And, like I said, the Barnes & Noble is not going to very new stuff. Our large Barnes & Noble has a fantastic one section. It's huge, like compared to what my daughter used to. I walked in and when the first week, I walked past this is the longest section. Look at that. I think that's what would be college people.
Yeah.
But they're not going to hear
It's a lot harder to find in the U.S. market, and you're usually going to pay it
I have a question for Wade. Like, I know that we have to go through Ingram to purchase the books, but how is it going to work through a book signing? Will you order more books? Like, or is there a limit? Because I remember you said about the...
Right, so it doesn't have to be just Ingram. It could be Book Marketing Plus, it could be Bookazine. They're all approved vendors for it. Unless it's you brought up Ingram, let's say Ingram. So you've got Ingram housing your book. I don't do many of these, but I will do some of these. So I'll give you 2 examples. One, you've got it with Ingram, let's say it's your terminal. So my first question will be, have you had any other signings? Yes, I've had 8 signings. How have they done? We've done pretty well. We averaged 10 books, 12 books, 20 books. I'll take the honor system and I'll order 15 to 20 books. We'll go from there. Now, let's say it's a book that's non-returnable. You got it with Ingram, but it's not returnable for me. I have made exceptions that what I'll do, a lot of times, you have your own inventory, right? I'll say, let's do it this way. You bring your inventory, we'll sell it. We'll do a signing. You sell 10, 15, 20. I'll order 10, 15, 20 from Ingram to replace your inventory. I don't do that a lot, but I will make an exception at that time. That's, again, because I can't go to a cash register and do a payout and pay you for your books. That's the one thing locally I can't do that these guys can't do, I think.
I have a question for you.
We just a couple of questions. No, I don't think they ever got to address like your successful, what successful strategies are for books like that.
Okay, so for me, and I'm glad you rephrased it, because I was sitting there thinking, what was the original question? But then I'm thinking back to it. So to have a successful author signing, I found that it's really kind of
one other person?
One other person with
Oh, that
me.
was-
So we
I
had
think she was local.
And she was local too, but we had 2 people there, and I thought that was a really successful.
I thought it was. That was my first one, so my
Right.
frame of reference was a little vague, but I thought it was successful.
And
We
then-
moved product.
We did new product, and then Linda's done with Jody Thomas, which is, we'll claim her as our own, we'll claim both of you as our own, and that's, we always try to do. No, she, no, she lives right around the corner from my store, so you can't have her, she's mine. So, but I will say that, for our lesser known authors, if you can find a more well-known author, they bring in a lot of people, and so it's really nice because you can share customers at that point in time. They're like, oh, I'll buy Jody's next book, but oh, this author looks great too. And so oftentimes her customers will buy your books as well. So if you have, and so we've started doing author showcases, partially because with craziness of life, I found out that if I can limit it to like once a month or once every 2 months to do an author showcase, I can do 2 or 3 or 4 authors at once, have more customers come in and shop in each author at that time. And so you feed off each other. It's a great networking time. I have found that to be really great. John Erickson has come in. He is one of mine as well. He's not. He lives further north. But he brings in his own crew. I mean, he that's just him, and that would not work. I mean, there's just too many people coming through because he's so regional. I mean, he's so very regional.
Does he still sing?
He does. He is still, I know. They haven't done it in my shop, but they still have those programs. So that's what I have found. If you are not local and you want to do a local author signing it's more difficult because we need those friends and families to come and promote you within our area. So I find unless you're like a huge name, Neil Gaiman author, Linda Rode, that type of author, it's harder to bring people in when you do that. So always think about pairing up with people. It's definitely a great way to split the cost on that, or split the customers on that too. So, especially if your genres work well together. So you may have a children's book that is, of a certain genre, but it goes with the adult genre. That would be a great pairing. So something where we can market it all together. Also, one more thing, Facebook. We do for Facebook, Instagram, social media. That's the way to go. However, Facebook is doing weird stuff now, and it seems to be restricting anything that you post in terms of events. And I'm not sure if maybe that's just me being.
They want you to spend money on advertising.
They do, but when I spend money on advertisement, they restrict it further, it seems like. And so, like, what I've started doing is saying, hey, staff, my 12 people, or, your friends and family, say, hey, if it's in your heart, please post this on your personal page so that it gets out, because it disappears. And sure enough, like I have an author signing today, and it totally disappeared. It never showed up. My staff couldn't find it, so I had to repost it and then post it again. And then my staff started doing it as well. So kind of keep watch on those posts when you're doing it. Social media is huge. It's a great way to get to the community, except it is being restricted, and I may be a little conspiracy theorist here, but I really think that they're trying to get you to spend money, but then they restrict it even further in some way. So we've got to figure out how to get around that by supporting each other. Everybody in this group, support your colleagues here. Make sure when they're doing an author signing to send it out as well. It's just so much important, so very important. Also, Facebook is by the wayside. It's for the older group. I still use it a lot. Instagram is much better, but I think it's kind of is doing it. Snapchat, I don't do that. Twitter is more professional, I think. You probably know more on some of this, and I'm going to hand this off to you. But if you can do TikTok, that's the way to go. I mean, I'm just now, I have a internship from the high school who's doing a TikTok for me, and I'm so excited. So yeah, but it catches attention.
Isn't TikTok risky? I've heard that it's risky.
Oh,
there's book talk.
It's book talk.
Yeah,
It's
there's a
not.
whole section.
No, and people watch it.
Oh,
It used to be a little sketchy.
It used to be sketchy, but it's.
So if we do book talk, that would be,
Yeah, I have not done a TikTok yet. My college, or my high school student who's graduating in 2 weeks is working on one for me for the new move. And so she's like, Dallas, this is going to sound weird, but this is what I'm going to do. And I'm like, go for it. You know, so trust the younger generation. They'll know how to get it. They'll know how to get it out. And really work with them to tell them your vision, but then let them go creative. So because it's a total different world for me at least. So and I'm still kind of hooked on Facebook and Instagram, but it really needs to go past that to get to the whole demographic. So your turn.
So yeah, social media is a whole thing. My background is 15 plus years in marketing, building executive. I was a CMO building marketing teams from the ground up type thing. So, it's definitely a holistic approach. I could have an entire session just on the marketing side alone, especially on social media and how they feed into each other. Yeah, sounds good. But my quick thing on that, if you are diving into the world of TikTok, understand that it is extremely time consuming. You have to understand the trends. You have to understand that they come and go very quickly. If you're going to get on top of one, you've got to get on top of it quick. You have to be on your feet. You have to be engaging. You have to, this is not just a come on, talk about your book and be done. This is, you have to put on a persona. And so that we can talk more about that. But within 6 months, I've built a TikTok that's niche and had over 47,000 followers on it. So there are hacks, there are ways that you can build your audience. It's extremely time consuming. So for book signings, however, the secret is alcohol. No, not necessarily, but I do find that many readers, if not most readers, are introverts and quiet and love to come into bookshops because it is a place where they can go and be themselves and not feel awkward. As I've said before, our square footage is intimate, is the word that I will use. And so having a table at the front with the author, front and center, I have never found that to be an engaging way to present an author, both in my experience of engaging with one and I've never handled it that way in the shop before. So how I do, the bookshop is in the front, and then we have our reading room in the back, which is a quiet area with Wi-Fi, and that's where we host our events. And if we have an author back there, then that's usually where I put them. And at first, they're very put off. I'm like, why are you putting me in this back corner in another room and not front and center? I said, okay, hold on. This is what we're doing. We have an entire little stage area that we're going to set up for you. We have a table. We have a whole ambiance. And if we have an event that is fitting to your genre, then we'll lean into that as well. And what we're going to do is take the front table right as you walk into the bookshop, and we are going to clear it and dedicate it solely to you. So that's where the author bio comes in. That's where the talking about the book comes in. That's where the creative process comes in. And we feature all of that, and we theme out the table, and we put stacks of your book, and we say, engage with the author. Take a moment and learn about them, learn about the book, and have that freedom to be able to pick it up and be like, oh, this is really cool. And then we have a sign that says, author is pouring wine in the back. Go have them sign your book, have a quick chat, and it doesn't have to be wine. It can be, if your book has cream puffs in it, maybe we have cream puffs to hand out. Something that helps engage them another way, that's a little bit more of an icebreaker. They don't have to go back there and just be like, do you mind signing this for me? and a little bit of engagement. And even if they don't buy your book, it's a more memorable experience for that reader, and they're going to tune in a little bit more. So that's how we have handled it. We've had great successes in that. When we did it with DL, who was our first published author, he's from Arkansas. He flew in. We sold out of everything that he had, hardcover and paperback. So it's a great way to just introduce yourself in a softer manner to readers. So that's my 2 cents on how to handle some book signings. I have more questions out there.
I have a question for you. So being around books all the years, are any of you also writers? Think about writing?
Yes. So, I mean, in the world of business, kind of publications, magazine publications, professional publications, copywriting, etc. So all of the normal stuff, in addition to going to writers' conferences, pitching my books to agents, talking to other writers. Like, this is I'm not just a marketer. I've lived in the world of writing for a very long time. So I don't have anything on the fiction side that is published. I did have a publisher interested, but that was right as COVID hit. So it kind of, life happens. But we'll see.
I grew up in the newspaper world. My parents owned a newspaper in southern Oklahoma, and so I grew up in the publishing world, but just a totally different type of world. So yeah, totally different type of world. So I'm much more like an editor type person. I mean, and I appreciate art. that's my talent.
No, I respect the process. I understand how hard it is. The only analogy I can give you is being thrust into business. I never intended on owning a business. It was kind of, it's a whole story. And now, I can't go into a store without thinking of how that relates to my store. I mean, I will stare at light fixtures for hours in certain environments. I just will. So the same happens, I assume the same happens on your end. You can't read or consume a product without automatically relating it to something that you're wanting to create yourself. And that destroys the process for me. It destroys the enjoyment. So for me to enjoy, I had to separate myself from it and understand that's going to have to be something completely separate, and now I'll just stare at pictures and bookshelves for the rest of my life.
No, I'm not a writer, but I do journal, and I do feel like I have several books in me.
I know, Alice, you had a huge launch for this book last year, and that was so awesome.
That was really neat. If you haven't, and I'll pitch his book, he has another one. Oh, sorry. Have y'all heard of Taylor Moore? He's spoken. He did it. Somehow he has gotten that person. He has that personality that really engages people, and he knows how to talk directly to people. And it doesn't matter who you are. He will have a conversation with you in the room. And so he did his launch party at our shop, and it was very well attended. He also went and spoke to one of my book clubs. So I did say I had this small shop out in Bushland. We have a book club out there with that shop. And so he went out and spoke to the ladies at the book club, and none of them, that was not their style of book. They loved that meeting. I mean, and so if you have opportunities to get some of the book clubs involved with your book, that would be an excellent way of doing it too. And because then they can get to know who you are, and they're more invested in what you're doing. And I think that's really important. Books are about building relationships. Bookstores are about building relationships. I mean, it is a relationship. And even your relationship with me, that's huge. It's how I treat you, and it's how you treat me is how we'll all receive each other. I mean, and so just kind of keep that in mind. But Taylor Moore, he did a fantastic job. I mean,
It was not a big party.
it was a big party, and he's coming out with his second book in August, so we're super excited about that. So it is, and he somehow did it just very well. So.
Any further questions? Thank you so much.
Inspiring and informative, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I appreciate y'all coming. I know some of you came from very close, and some came from a little bit further away, so I appreciate that. Okay, louder. So I want to remind you of next month is Andy Wilkinson, and I'm going to pull it up. I got brownie crumbs on my phone here from Linda's Brownies, but Andy Wilkinson is artist, poet, songwriter, and storyteller. He's been police officer, financial planner, commodities broker, bag boy at Piggly Wiggly. He's also a cowboy poet. He serves as an artist in residence at Texas Tech University's Southwest Collection. And he's going to be speaking to us on creativity, and I think making creativity a lifestyle. He has a great creativity book that I bought at Lark. And so it's going to be something for everyone. So make sure you're here next month. As KJ said, we're going to be off in July. In August is Sterling Chaney, who's an author and illustrator. And I know a lot of you have already seen his books. He's fantastic. September, we're going to be having a workshop at Luca. And it's going to be a 3-act, 8-sequence screenwriting structure for novelists. So it's a fantastic workshop with Jolene Navarro, who writes Harlequin and Harlequin-inspired romances, and she does this workshop where we're going to watch a movie, and she's going to pinpoint all the different kind of plot points that you can take to use in your own plotting structure. And it's a fantastic workshop, so you're going to want to be there. And so that's things to look forward to for these meetings. So you are so smart to be here. My kids had the same kindergarten teacher, and she taught them this thing to do whenever they should ask them a question, and they would answer correctly. And she would say, "You're so smart. Give your brain a kiss." And then, like that. So you guys are so smart for being here. Give your brain a kiss. Nobody did. So, okay. Did you want to say something? Oh yes, Steve's going to talk about the anthology.
I'm going to sit out and do this because I've got a hell of a morning. It's going to be brief. I'm probably in trouble as we speak because my wife is away in El Salvador. But for the anthology, we're doing a little different this year. The blind portion, you're going to get 500 words out of whatever you submit. We're going to submit that to the public. The big thing about the anthology right now that I've got to get across is we need judges.
You need what?
Judges. We need people who are going to judge the semifinal round to help us pick who's going to win the money prizes and who's going to be in the book. Because some people may not make the cut. So we need at least 2 or 3 more judges to step up and say, hey, I want to be in. We haven't formalized whether or not you can submit and judge. Actually, apparently KJ has formalized the
That's hard to do.
Yeah, you can submit to be a judge. Okay. But the submission fee this year is $15 for members of CWIA and $30 for non-members of CWIA. But we're trying to funnel in new subscribers or members. So if you get a new membership or renew your membership during this anthology run, you just get to submit for free. So that's a way for some of y'all who know you're going to be a member next year. Go ahead and pay the next year's membership, and you don't have to pay your $15. Done deal. We're also going to try and develop a reader's newsletter we've talked about, because there's no reason we can't conglomerate the marketing potential of all the various authors we have in this group we get a big newsletter just to let people know somebody is releasing a new book. I've got a Kickstarter that I've started working on for publishing costs. And whatever we don't manage to cover in the Kickstarter, we're going to do in-house. So people are doing proofreading, editing, whatever, just let us know if you're available to help with that. Sorry. And the theme for this year is it's never say never. That may be inspirational, it may be a horror, it's whatever you want to make out of those 3 words. And it doesn't have to be in the very opening sentence, it doesn't have to be in the first paragraph, but it needs to be upfront and very visible that that's the theme being presented. And your title cannot be never say never, it's got to be something else entirely. Other than that, we're hoping to get maybe up to 2 dozen writers, poets, whatever, and a springway of artists. So if you do any of the above, from short stories, non-fictions, poems, or art, get us something submitted. KJ has the link in the newsletter. We'll probably get it on the Facebook group too. And if you have any questions, now's the time to ask.
So you said you were looking for judges, so what is the commitment from, like if I wanted to judge, what are the time frames that we are getting to?
We're basically going to start accepting submissions on the 21st through June 21st. And it's live on a 5-star rating for the public. And as we start getting some stuff, we see people who are consistently getting 4 or 5-star ratings, we're going to let the judges have at those. You're going to pick out the top offerings, and like I said, it's blind. 100 words of the whole short story, and tell us what you think. You're going to go 4 or 5-star rating, maybe some comments if you want. And those top scores out of that pile are going to go to KJ and I, and we're going to compile from first to last in the book. And first, second, and third are all getting a cash prize. First place is $100, second place is $60, third place is $40. So, I mean, it's not a big candidate prize, but it's a prize. You're getting published with a bunch of other authors. And we are going to do some promotions on Facebook and stuff. Already got some other planned out. And like I said, the Kickstarter should get a little bit of energy going even before it's big things.
And tell them about illustrators, how they participate.
Illustrators, you're going to fill out the same submission as the writers, but then you will upload your art instead of your content, your story, or your nonfiction.
That is great.
And that is free.
Submit for free.
I mean, I didn't agree with KJ against the rules. I think the copy is okay more. Anything else?
You can do nonfiction.
You can do nonfiction. The word count is no minimum up to 7,000 words. We're figuring we're going to have a lot of 2,500, 4,000 word offerings. Any genre, any topic. Let's try not to do erotic or anything too controversial, because that's probably not going to be cut. Anything else? We're good?
All right, well, thank you guys for coming. Make sure you come next week. Look on our website by the back door. At that table, there's a little QR code to sign up. To find the critique group information. It sends you right to the website. So if you want to look into that a little bit more, I'll be updating with Kidder's new information. And come and join us for critique groups too. Thank you guys. Oh, and we're going to King Street Pub for anyone that wants to join us. We just have a little lunch over there. It can take a little while because they only have a little bit of staff, but it's really fun to meet with our panelists. Some of them can't make it, but if you all can, we'd love to have you come. Anyway, see y'all next time.